Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Coach Matt, EliteThrowsCoaching.com, Primal Athlete Training Center here in Cranston, Rhode Island. So for Technique Tuesday this week, I wanted to do something a little bit different because, again, we wrapped up our discus techniques a few weeks ago. And we want to talk more about some general things that I've been noticing, that I've been seeing now that we're attending a lot of the bigger track meets. The championship track meets are coming up. And I'm starting to see and hear from a lot of coaches and see the athletes at meets that essentially are not at all flexible. And it's pretty shameful, to be quite honest with you, that we have athletes at championship level meets who just do not have the flexibility and the capacity, the capability to get into proper positions. Now, why is this so important? Well, obviously, when you're dealing with something like throwing shot put, throwing discus, hammer, javelin, whatever it might be, you need to be able to get into the proper positions so that you can do the technique correctly. If you don't have the flexibility, whether it be in your lower back, your hamstrings, your hips, whatever that might be, if you don't have the flexibility to get into a proper position, you are not going to be able to throw far. That is just the way it goes. You have to be able to get yourself into a position that you can throw far. And if it's one of these things where you don't have the flexibility to do that, you need to work on it. The other reason why flexibility is so important is here in the weight room. You can see right behind me we have all of our equipment. We have athletes in here from all different sports that are doing weight training movements and body weight training movements to get themselves ready to perform their best at their sport. If you are not flexible enough, or if you do not have the flexibility, or you are not mobile enough to do or to hold proper positions when you are lifting weights, number one, you are never going to get stronger. More than likely, you are going to get hurt. So this is something that we need to address. Now, you've seen on the Elite Throws Coaching website, EliteThrowsCoaching.com, when you sign up for the newsletter, you get a free video that goes through our entire warm-up. That's the warm-up that we do here before every weight training session, and that's the warm-up that you should be doing before every throwing practice out on the field. What I want to do today is go through a couple of my favorite warm-ups, a couple of my favorite stretching routines and flexibility movements that you can do. Maybe it's before you get in the circle at a track meet and throw. Maybe it's, if you have been sitting on a bus ride for a long time and you had a long ride to the meet and now you're cramped up and you're all crunched up and tight. These are some of my favorite things to do. The reason for this video really comes from the meet I was at yesterday. I saw athletes who literally were sitting down all day long, just sitting on the ground, and then they were getting up and getting in the discus circle and throwing. Or they were just standing, leaning up against the fence, or just sitting on the bleachers, and then when their name was called to start warming up for their flight, they would just get up and pick up a shot and go. There was no flexibility, there was no warm-up, there was nothing there. They literally went from a cold, seated, static position, just sitting on their butt, to trying to perform at their best. This is at a championship meet. This is at our division championships. So I want to give you guys some tools, give you guys some movements that you can do to really help improve your flexibility, to get you in better positions so that you can throw farther at meets and so that you're not getting hurt here in the weight room. So I'm just going to move the camera real quick, kind of point it so that it's facing down on the ground. A lot of these movements are on the ground. And just something quick that you guys can do. You should be doing something like this every single day. Maybe it's before you go to bed at night. Definitely before you get in the circle and throw at a track meet. But working on this every single day is how you're going to see improvement in your flexibility and how you're going to be able to get in better positions and throw farther and stop yourself from getting hurt here in the weight room. Okay, so what you guys are going to see is that these exercises all kind of flow together. I'm going to take you through 5 exercises, and these are things you don't necessarily need equipment to do them. I love doing these because they're simple, they're really easy to explain, and it's something that you can easily pop out within about 5 minutes before getting in the circle and throwing. So right at the end of the flight before you, if you know you're in the 3rd flight, right at the end of the 2nd flight, you can start banging these out and get loosened up. So the first thing we're going to do is called a bird dog. Now for a bird dog, what we're going to do is we're going to get on our hands and knees. We're going to get our back nice and flat. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our opposite arm and our opposite leg, and we're going to stretch them out as far as possible. So I'm going to take my left arm and my right leg, I'm going to hold them out, and I'm going to stretch as far as possible. Now notice what's going on here. I'm not throwing my arm up and just quickly moving my arm up in the air. I'm trying to stretch that leg out as far as possible. I've got my toe pointed back to my knee. I'm trying to stretch that arm out, get my bicep by the ear. I'm going to go in, out, hold it for about 4 or 5 seconds. In, out, hold it for about 4 or 5 seconds. Really pull. You're going to start to feel your lower back loosen up. You want to hold it for about 4 to 5 seconds per rep. And you're going to do about 5 reps on the left, 5 reps on the right. So 5 reps on one side, 5 reps on the other. Real simple. It's going to take you less than a minute. Next exercise we're going to do, we're going to roll over, we're going to lay on our back and do what's called a dead bug. Now with a dead bug, it's very similar to the bird dog. We're working with opposites, but we're going to be putting our arms and our legs down to the ground. So with a dead bug, we're going to start lying on our back with our hands and our feet in the air, just like a dead bug. Hands in the air, feet in the air. What we're going to do is we're going to drop the opposites down to the ground. Now before we do that, we want to exhale and try to push our belly button down to our spine. Try to get our back totally flat on the ground. So it looks like this. And we're going to alternate left and right, and we're going to do 5 reps on each side. Now what you want to think of is that you want to pretend like someone has their hand underneath your lower back, and you're trying to flatten their hand with your lower back. So we don't want a big arch in the back where you can stick your arm underneath. We want, if somebody had the hand underneath, you're actively pushing down, and you're trying to squish their hand. Okay? Next exercise we're going to do is a standing hamstring stretch. Standing hamstring stretch, what I'll do is I'll show you how to stretch my right hamstring. We're going to put the right toe up in the air as high as we possibly can. We're going to keep that right leg totally straight, and we're going to push our hips back. Notice I'm not just rounding over and reaching. I'm pushing the hip back, and I'm going to try to reach down for my ankle. Pushing straight down. Now sometimes you'll see people that will totally round over and they'll just kind of touch their foot. You're not getting a good stretch that way. Make sure, we'll show you from this side, we're pushing the hip back, we're keeping the lower back nice and flat, reaching down as far as we can, and then standing up. You should feel a deep stretch in the back of the leg. Typically I'll do 10 on the left, 10 on the right. Next thing we're going to do is called a flow drill. Now the flow drill, it's 5 exercises right in a row. They all flow together. And the first one is an RDL. Similar to the hamstring stretch that we just did, we're going to slight bend in our knee. We're going to push our hips back while keeping a nice flat back. We're going to try to push the hips back all the way. You're going to see a big stretch right back here in the hamstring. We're going to hold this for about 5 to 10 seconds. We're going to drive the knees back, and we're going to reach down for our toes. Big stretch in the hamstrings right here. From here, we're going to pull ourselves down. So we're going to put our fingers underneath our toes, pull ourselves down into a deep, deep, deep stretch. We're going to take one arm, put it overhead, the other arm overhead, and then we're going to stand up. I'm going to show you one from the front so that you get it. So we're going to RDL, Romanian deadlift, nice stiff back of the legs, nice big stretch. Extend the knees, reach down to the ground. Fingers under the toes, pull into that deep squat position. Now at this point we want the elbows inside the knees so that we're driving the knees apart. Getting that big stretch in the inner thigh. One arm up, other arm up, stand up. Okay? Typically we'll do 5 of those. So you can see we are not taking a lot of time here. 5 flow drills in a row, probably going to take you about 2 minutes. Not a whole lot of time to get warmed up. Last exercise we're going to do, I like to use a kettlebell when I do it. You can use a dumbbell, or if you just have, if you're at a track meet, if you got a shot put, that's going to work well too. Get something that's got a little bit of weight. Now to give you an idea, this kettlebell is about 35 pounds. I'll routinely squat anywhere from like 315 to 350 on a kind of heavy squat day. So this is about 10% of my max squat. It's really not a lot of weight, really kind of lightweight, but it's just enough in my hands to produce that stretch. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to squat down and I'm going to hold that deep squat position, and I'm going to drive my elbows into my knees the same way you just saw in the flow drill. The added weight's just going to give us a little bit more push. This is what it looks like. Going to grab kettlebell, get our feet set up, ready to squat. We're going to sit back and down, and at the bottom position, I'm going to use the weight of the kettlebell. It's going to push my knees apart. You see I'm getting a big stretch in the inner thigh, really trying to open up the hips. And then at the bottom, what I'm going to do is just drop it, stand back up, and repeat. I like to do 5 of these. Let me show you one from the side. That way you can see what's going on. Right here, we're going to sit. Again, notice I'm sitting back and down. I'm not just rounding my lower back. I'm sitting back and down, trying to keep the chest up. Elbows are pushing apart the knees. So you don't want to just kind of sit down there and get really like rounded over, hunched over. You want to hold a proper position, nice flat lower back, and use those elbows to drive the knees apart. So there's 5 exercises. I mean, really, how much time will that take you? Especially once you learn them, you're going to go right from one into the other, nice and quickly. You're going to break a little bit of a sweat. Your lower back, your hips, your hamstrings, they're all going to be loosened up. You're just going to feel so much better when you get into that circle. I mean, we hear it all the time. People are like, I do my best throws at practice. Why do I always throw so well at practice? Well, how many throws do you take at practice? 20, 25, 30 throws? How many do you take during a meet? 2 warm-ups, 4 warm-ups, maybe at the most you take 4 warm-up throws. Then you've got another 3 throws in trials. If you make finals, that's another 3 throws, so that's 10 throws total. You're not even close to what you do during practice. During practice, you're loose, you're warmed up, you're relaxed. In meets, you don't warm up, you're not relaxed, and you're really, really tense. Your muscles are really, really tight. Do the right thing. Get yourself warmed up, do a proper warm-up before you go into your flight. You're going to throw farther, you're going to be looser, you're going to be able to explode better and get into better positions. Try these out, real simple to do, doesn't take a lot of equipment. You can do it without any equipment and just use your shot put, and you'll be able to see great results and be more flexible and get in better positions. And that's what it's all about.